Good morning, students. Welcome to Social Studies class. Today, we're going to be discussing child abuse. I repeat, our topic for discussion today is child abuse. Now, what is child abuse? Child abuse can be defined as the misuse of children through the exercise of physical force and emotional blackmail. Child abuse is the misuse of children through the exercise of physical force and emotional blackmail. It has to do with children being blackmailed or being misused. Whenever a child who is under the age of 18 is undergoing any kind of maltreatment or misuse or hard labor, that is child abuse. At times, it can be sexually or emotionally. Child abuse can also be defined as an unfair exercise of power over children. Child abuse involves intimidation. Such child can be intimidated. Isolation, he or she can be isolated, making children feel bad about themselves. An adult or teacher or parents or guardians can make a child feel bad about him or herself, making that child feel inferior, and that child will feel like he's not up to his or her colleague that is so inferior to them. Child labor, that has to do with engaging such child in hard labor and making children comply with sexual activities against their will. That has to do with rape in most cases, or when you are assaulting or harassing a child. So that is child abuse. Child abuse can also involve subjecting children to all forms of inhuman treatment and harassment. When you are subjecting children or a child to any form of inhuman treatment or harassment, when you are treating that child as if he or she is nothing, you due to hatred or harassment. So that is the meaning and definition of child abuse. Now, what are the forms or types of child abuse? Forms or types of child abuse. Number one, we have forced labor. Forced labor, we have rape. We have touching or fondling with a child's sensitive parts of the body. For example, the breast, the buttocks, and reproductive organ. That is another form. Then we also have inhuman treatments. Inhuman treatments of a child. For example, inflicting pain or injury on that child. We have using vulgar language on the child. We have depriving children of their rights, that is right to education, that is also child abuse. We have subjecting a child to sexual intercourse with or without his or her consent. Now let us now take it one after the other. These forms of child abuse. Number one, forced labor. A child can be used as forced labor. A child who is not up to the age of 18, and the moment the adult or the parents or the teacher or the guardian or caregiver starts using such child and start engaging him or her in hard labor or forced labor, maybe taking the child to the farm and telling the child to carry out some tasks, and you yourself know that such child is not capable or having that strength to carry out such tasks, so that is forced labor. You are forcing that child to engage in or to carrying out a difficult task. Number two is rape. We all know what rape is. It has to do with you forcing yourself on someone to have sexual intercourse with that person. So that is also a means or a type of child abuse. Then we also have touching or fondling with a child's sensitive parts of the body. Now, a child, either male or female, have their sensitive parts in the body. Now, the moment an adult or a parent or a guardian or a teacher is fondling or playing with a child's sensitive parts, maybe the breast, the buttocks, and any other sensitive part of the body, that is also child abuse. Then number four, we have inhuman treatment of a child. That has to do with inflicting pain or injury to the child. Maybe you ask the child to carry out a task for you, and the child did not do it on time, or maybe the child did not carry out the task. Then you start inflicting pain and injury to that child. That is inhuman treatment. That treatment is inhuman. Then we also have using vulgar language on the child. That one has to do with using negative or bad language on the child. Maybe telling the child that he or she can never make it in life, he or she is inferior to his colleagues, he or she is stupid. Using negative language on the child is also a type of child abuse. Then we also have depriving children of their rights. That is right to education. Now, every child has a right to education. to quality education. So the moment a child is being deprived of attending school or going to school, that is also a means of child abuse. Then we also have subjecting a child to sexual intercourse with or without his or her consent. Now, any child who is not up to the age of 18 is considered to be a minor. I told you that when we did marriage last time. So a child who is engaged or who is forced into sexual intercourse with or without her consent, and that child is not up to the age of 18, that is also child abuse. Now we are now going to discuss child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse. Now what is child sexual abuse? Child sexual abuse is a form of child abuse that includes sexual activity with a child or a minor. When an adult engages in sexual intercourse with a child, it is called child sexual abuse. Now, child sexual abuse has to do with a form of child abuse. You know, the topic is child abuse. So under child abuse is what we have sexual abuse, child sexual abuse. So it has to do with when a child is involved in sexual activity with when an adult rather is involved in sexual activity with a child or a minor. That child, like I said earlier, is not up to the age of 18. Now, that an adult now abuses a child sexually through sexual activity. That child is a minor and is not up to the age of 18. So it is termed child sexual abuse. So it is called sexual abuse because such child is not up to the age of 18. So the adult has abused the child sexually. Whenever an adult has any kind of sexual activity with a child, either male or female, who is not up to the age of 18. Also, when an adult engages in sexual intercourse with a child, with or without the child's consent, it is child sexual abuse. Children below the age of 18 are seen as minors. Therefore, adults are not authorized by law to engage in any form of sexual intercourse with them. Now, by law, it is against the law for any child for any adult to engage in any sexual intercourse with a child who is not up to the age of 18. It is against the law. Anybody found or caught doing that will be punished. Now, we have types of sexual abuse. Types of sexual abuse. Number one, we have intercourse. That one has to do with having sexual intercourse with the opposite sex. We have sex of any kind with a child, including verbal sexual abuse. Such child can also be abused verbally. When you start using the words of your mouth to abuse a child verbally. For example, when you start telling a child that his or her buttocks is big or his or her breast is starting to develop or is big, that is sexual abuse. Then we also have rape. We all know what rape is. Then we also have introducing pornographic films and books to children. That one is also a form of sexual abuse. When an adult or parent or guardian starts introducing pornographic movies or books to children, that is also a type of sexual abuse. Then we also have adults exposing his nakedness to a child. When adults, male or female, start exposing his or her nakedness to a child who is not up to 18, that's also a type of sexual abuse. Then we also have maltreating a child unnecessarily. That is also a form of sexual abuse. So thank you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday.